Hello, my name is Michael Lambert, and today I'm going to post two videos. I had planned to post one during the week, but unfortunately I wasn't very well, and although I'm 100% recovered now, I wasn't able to do it for that reason. The first video I'm going to post is concerning Rishi Sunak's deal with the EU, the so-called Windsor framework, and the second one will be about Keir Starmer's sort of fantasy missions impossible statement, which really is quite exceptional. So let's start with Rishi Sunak's deal with the EU. Now, one of the most extraordinary things I've seen for quite a long time in politics was Rishi Sunak on Tuesday morning in Belfast. I think he was in a Coca-Cola factory, giving a speech to the workers and, of course, giving a speech to the world, explaining to them how incredibly lucky they were, how quite extraordinary it was that he'd managed to negotiate a deal whereby they could supply the whole of the UK without restrictions, and they could also deal with the whole of the 27 countries of the European Union without any restrictions whatsoever. And he even went on to say that businessmen had already been in touch with him to tell him that they would be very keen on investing in Northern Ireland. Given that he did the deal on the Monday and he was giving the speech on the Tuesday morning, I'm not quite sure how many international businessmen would have been in touch with him, telling him that they were queuing up to come and invest in Northern Ireland. Having said that, it's very likely that people will now invest in Northern Ireland, want to invest in Northern Ireland, because it is the one place where you can supply the whole of the EU. Now, Northern Ireland is a population of 1,900 people, 1.9 million people. In effect, it's 3% of the UK population. So for that 3% of the population, they are back in they're still in the single market. They have a market of 500 odd million people, and they can buy from those 500 million people, no problem whatsoever. Just like we could. 2 years ago, but for some reason or other, for the other 97% of the population being in the EU, well, it would just be terrible. I mean, we the damage it did to us. I mean, all those civil servants telling us what to do and so on, and all those people coming over here and doing all those jobs that we didn't want to do. No, for the rest of us, it's obviously out of the question. But for that 3% who live in Northern Ireland, it is the most wonderful thing you could imagine. And seeing Sunak delivering the speech, you're jumping up and down like a marionette. I never seen anybody so excited. It was as though he had a bee in his pants. He's so excited. If you watch that speech without sound, it's quite remarkable. He was so excited. This incredible news that 3% of the population can remain in the single market. Now, I think about 10 days ago, looking at the prospect of Sunak getting a deal, I think most people were saying, well, it's going to be difficult. He'll get a deal, but it won't be really quite good enough. The Democratic Unionist Party, the DUP, they're going to object to whatever he gets because, that's what they do. They object to everything and they grumble about everything. They grumble about the sun coming up, I would imagine. And then it was thought that the ERG, Rees-Mogg and his lot, that they were almost certain to object to it and to vote against Sunak. And then there was always the likelihood that Boris Johnson would lead a posse, also objected to it, because he's got two issues. He's got a score to settle with Sunak for having really precipitated his eventual demise, and also he is desperate to become Prime Minister again, something which I've said will never happen again and certainly won't. Especially, incidentally, since I a few minutes ago I read something that there are text or WhatsApp messages suggesting that that plenty of people knew in Downing Street that the parties were not legal, and he's on the 20th of March he's going to be facing the Privileges Committee. So I think he's finished. So I think many people thought that Sunak was going to present this deal in Parliament. In fact, it doesn't have to be voted on, but anyway, he's going to present this deal in Parliament, and that the DUP would vote against it, the ERG would vote against it, and Johnson, his gang would vote against it, and that Sunak would only get it through with the help of the Labour Party, which would have been a bit humiliating, and it would have made him look even weaker. As it happens, he came back with an absolutely brilliant deal. He's got this incredible deal. He's got almost everything you could possibly ask for, and very, very little to grumble about. And I think this happened probably for a number of reasons. And I think uppermost is almost certainly the fact that the EU have got so sick and tired over years and years and years of dealing with a dishonest, incompetent, deceitful clown whose only interest really was performing on the stage and being the centre of attention. And I think now they find they've got somebody to deal with who is responsible, somebody who, like normal politicians, when he gives his word, he means it and will stick by it. And so I think you could see when they had the press conference, you see there's quite a lot of warmth between Von Leyden and Sunak. And I think they probably genuinely like each other. And I think having started in this way, it seems to me almost certain that Sunak, who by now understands, like everybody else, that the Brexit is an absolute disaster. He can't admit it because he's a well-known leaver. But he knows that there is no future for us outside of the EU, and he is going to want to get closer and closer to the EU, building on this relationship he has with Von der Leyen and probably with other people as well. And it seems more and more likely to me that we are going to now start seeing more cooperation with the EU. I mean, right away it was announced, wasn't it, that we were almost certainly going to rejoin the Horizon science thing. Who knows what might be next? Maybe we'll rejoin Erasmus. But I think there's going to be now a process of rowing back. Because, as I said, everyone knows that outside of the EU, life is a disaster. And this, of course, presents a big problem for Labour. Because whereas, and I've said this many times before, whereas all Starmer had to say was, well, the people have spoken, we've had a referendum, we don't plan to have another referendum, we have to make the most of it. But at some stage the circumstances may change. Who can say what's going to happen in the future? Maybe one day we will start talking to the EU again about a closer relationship. But no. Starmer decided, and he said it himself several times this week, that under his leadership, Labour will not seek to rejoin the customs union, single market, or the EU. Likewise, his front bench at every opportunity when the subject is raised say no, that's all over. The boat has sailed. I heard David Lammy last week on Laura Kursberg. No, customs union single market, that's finished. It's all behind us. The patient's been diagnosed with cancer and will die eventually if we don't do something about it. But that's all been decided. And Rachel Reeves was on Newsnight saying again, no, it's all finished. We've got to move on. And what Labour are saying all the time is that they're going to negotiate a better deal. They're going to negotiate a better deal because the Tory deal was a lousy deal. Well, the Tory deal is now changing, isn't it? And Sunak has every opportunity to improve on this deal for the next year and a half until there's an election, during which time Labour can do absolutely nothing except complain. So I think, as I've said all along, the stupidity of Starmer in saying that the door was shut forever was crazy, and it's all in order to try and keep the votes of a few people in the red wall seats who almost certainly, if they haven't woken up already, are going to wake up eventually to the fact that outside of the EU things are desperate, because we all know the economy is just going to go down and down and down from now on. There's no way of turning it around. And so I think Starmer Sunak played a blinder last week. I think he got a fantastic deal, and he shut up the opposition on his side of the House and the DUP, and he's put Labour in a very difficult position. And although I think this is probably unlikely, but I think it could well mark a turning point in people's attitudes, because a lot of people who've been saying all along they can't vote for any party that supports the EU. A lot of people left the Tories and can't vote them because of the chaos, but who are saying now, they will not vote for Labour whilst their position is never to return to the EU. And a lot of those are going to start drifting back to the Conservative Party, and it could well be It could well be that this is the point, this week is the point at which things turn around, and it might even be that the Tories still somehow or other win the next election. We'll see. Unlikely, I agree, but it's possible. So anyway, that's what I think about the agreement, and if you watch this far, thank you very much. And if you're interested, I am, as I say, going to make a second video later today about Starmer's Mission's Impossible. So if you watch this far, thank you very much, and until next time, bye for now.